Big Bad Toy Store has all of the latest and greatest kaiju collectibles, so evolve your collection and head on over to the link in the description or scan the QR code on the screen today.
Dragon Ball, horror, kaiju, and more. Steven Story Reviews.
Hey there, collectors, it's going to be Steven here, and welcome to another SH Monster Arts review, where today we're going to be taking a look at the SH MonsterArts Godzilla 1954 70th anniversary version of... I tried. Poster color version. So this one is going to be a tribute to the original poster for the seminal Godzilla movie, Godzilla 1954, Gojira, or whatever else you would prefer to call it. This one is meant to, exactly as I said, depict Godzilla as he appeared in his brown colored glory with the neat sort of dusty looking dorsal plates. He's shooting his fire breath and there are jets flying around him. People are in terror on the ground, and it's going to be $120 at US distribution. That is a hefty price tag, but what I will say is with this hitting the market, we are already seeing some fantastic eye application, and so far there aren't that many quality control issues, it seems, right? Well, maybe the proof is in the pudding and we should take a closer look to see whether or not it's going to be worth adding into your collection. All right. Well, that's a nice segue on over into the sculpt and the paint, and I do have to say, kind of at first glance, I mean, what's wrong with this guy? I really think we can all agree that pretty much he looks fantastic, but when you get to the nitty-gritty details, there may be some issues that folks may not like. Others are just going to glance over and just simply not really care about, which is the point of reviews entirely, and mine as well. Just because you don't care about an issue doesn't mean that the other guy who's watching the video may or may not care about an issue, and it may make or break the decision to make a purchase. Keep that in mind. Reviews are meant for everyone, or as many people as can access them. Anyway, for the overall main paint scheme of Godzilla, like I made mention, he is going to be brown and different shades of brown, and he's going to have some different tan, yellow, and brown, or what have you, on the dorsal plates, and he's going to look pretty cool. Now, this is an issue that is most prevalent under flash photography, but it is notable even under normal room lighting. An issue that has been with some SH MonsterArts releases over the years is that it seems like the color of the plastic is inconsistent from piece to piece. Some pieces look brighter, some pieces look darker, and that is going to be true for Godzilla here. Now, he does have the paint shading where some areas are darker, some areas are brighter, and it is going to reflect the peaks and the valleys of the figure, but that really doesn't seem to be the case here. Now, what does look fantastic, nigh perfect, is going to be those eyes. Absolutely love him. For those who are very familiar with 1954, there are basically two different versions of how his eyes look. He is either going to be looking straight ahead or he's going to be looking down into the side, and that's what this figure captured perfectly. The down into the side look. The eyes are digital printed on. When you look up close and personal, you can see the little dot matrix printing there, which is amazing. The eyes are very small. It is perfect. There is no better way to describe it. This is how that particular look of 1954 should be looking. And keep in mind, kids, when we do talk about some of these different looks, it's not just a matter of go ahead and throw googly eyes on the figure and however it lands is how it lands, and you should be quote unquote okay with that. There is an intention to the design when something is placed on the screen. Everything that you see is intended to be placed there for the most part. So like Shin Godzilla, his eyes are the same way. Throughout the rest of the figure, I know we're kind of moving on here, but the shading, the dry brushing, there's not really a whole much of a wash going on here, I would say. All look really nice on Godzilla, especially with the dorsal plates where we have the outside of the plates sort of branching out from a much, much darker color from the middle of the plate. It all looks very good, except for some of those areas which don't seem to have complete coherence from one piece of plastic to the other. But again, that may not bother everyone. It actually really didn't bother me that much until I really saw the figure under very bright flash photography. Then unfortunately, I can just notice areas on mine better than I could before. The only real legitimate issue with, I think so anyway, with the figure and the dorsal plates is going to be at the base of the tail where there's just this huge chunk. I don't know, kind of looks like a big blob of peanut butter to me that I don't quite like. But otherwise, I think the figure personally looks fantastic and the issues are very minimal, but I can see where some other folks are not too happy in some areas. But I love it. Articulation, and this Godzilla is going to be the same as the original release with only minor changes, and that's mostly going to be with the production variances that can happen, this is going to be the same mold used as the original 1954 release and subsequent reissues. So the jaw is going to be on a hinge. If you pop the head off, you can actually see the hinge that's nestled in there, and it opens and closes like so. Mine is very much so kind of gummy. It's sort of like stuck. Max open and close, it kind of likes to pop into place in those two positions, but nevertheless, it does work. Mine did not want to really open or close all the way. I needed to blast it with heat. Once I did, it was free to move. Now the head is going to be on a system of ball joints here, so you can rock and move the head around. I'll go ahead and actually pop the head off so you can see the multi-ball and socket joint system that's hidden in there. The reason why that was not used on Godzilla Evolve to make the neck articulation good so he can look up is beyond me. Okay, so with the heads and the neck joints, you can look up about that far and look down that far, rock from side to side, all good. The arms, this is kind of where it got a little bit iffy for me, and I was kind of sad, but then I sort of fixed it. So we do have the shoulders plugging in on ball joints so you can rock and you can sort of twist. Not a true dedicated bicep swivel, but you can move the arms around. You can't really T-pose too perfectly, but I think that's pretty solid. And you can kind of fake it if you want to twist his arm backwards. And then, can we? Yeah, the elbows are going to be plugging into the bicep on a bit of a ball joint there. So you can extend the arm and get a little bit of an extra swivel there, swivel movement. We get a little bit of a pivot there because of that ball joint, but don't think we're going to get full movement out of that. We do get that ability to get the hinge, fake hinge out of that, if you will, because of the ball joint that's here and here. So we do get that elbow bend. Not super over the top amazing, but it is what it is. Now the elbow plugs into the forearm actually on a peg, and that is very tight on both arms here on the figure. This one a little bit less so. So if you do want to get the forearm to twist and to rotate, I needed to use a lot of heat to pop that off and then plug it back in. Something to note. For the wrists, ball joints, barbell style, and you can move them around. These are the accessory alternate wrists, hand parts, whatever that Godzilla comes with, not the default ones. And I will say that these stay on and they're a bit tighter and have a better range of movement than the default normal ones. So the alternate ones are here, but the normal ones, they're pretty much the same. We do have the ab crunch, diaphragm, whatever, ball joint, which doesn't really give us a lot of movement. Mine was super tight. I needed to hit it with shock oil in order to get that to move. And even then, the waist ball joint is going to be the Hulk of the moving joint here. As you can see, that popped off, and that was pretty tight too. So I needed to hit that with a little bit of shock oil, but you can bend down about that far, up about that far, and rock from side to side. Okay? Hips, ball joints. You can do the splits, kick from side to side. All good, no problems. Knees, standard for the SH MonsterArts line. He can bend about that far back. And then we do have ball joints, so we can kind of twist and turn. We do have a cut there, which is a ball joint, and then the ankles are on ball joints, so we get some good movement out of them. He can do perfect ankle rocker movement. Kick that far down. All good. Tail, we do have ball joint segments all the way up until about right here. So we can, no, it's not perfect, but it's still very good to the point where he can almost touch his body with it. So the articulation is pretty rock solid. Personally, I think mouth slightly open and like that. Bada bing, bada boom. Perfect 1954 pose. Accessory time, and here's where we get fun. So like I did make mention, 1954 Godzilla here, the poster boy, does come with alternate hand parts, which you are seeing already on the figure. These are the default hands here, so let's actually just go ahead and do a comparison this way. It's not that big of a deal. The alt hands are pretty much, let me get that in there. They're pretty much just the same for each other, but a little bit different. Godzilla's fingers are a little closer together, and the wrists, as they get closer to the forearm, are a little smaller. So as you can see here, they do lose some details. It kind of looks like he's actually got mittens now, but c'est la vie. I just think these really do capture the feeling of Godzilla a bit more myself, but nevertheless, we kind of get that idea here. It's pretty cool. I don't like the paint on them as much compared to the normal hands, but it's fine. They're good. All right. So here's where we get into the part where Tamashii Nations really didn't do that great of a job, and they didn't put all of their thinking muscle into it. So we get a disc base support. Cool. So Godzilla stands on it. I'm going to be a little bit of a dodo here. You can put the Tamashii support arms into this base. We do have little peg holes. All you got to do is just pop them out. You can actually use the support arm and pop them out here and then stick it in there. But we'll come back to that butt in a minute because it's a nice butt. So we've got Godzilla standing on it. And then, of course, we're recreating the 1954 poster. We do get fighter jets, right? So this is going to be basically the point here. Here's the one fighter jet that Godzilla is holding. It's all good. Yep. Here's the one he will be holding. There's a hole in the front, sort of recreate them flying on strings if you wanted to. I don't know. There's no detail to them paint-wise, so if you did want to get some paint, I'm sure it would not be too hard. Okay, so if we're mimicking the poster, right, we want to mimic the poster, here's what we do. We need to put it into his right hand. I would advise you to get heat, but I'm me, so I'm not really going to. And then you can sort of push it in. Or, if you're going to be like me, you can push it in like this. Careful not to snap anything. You can wiggle it in and then twist it. Just turn it around. Push it down, turn it around to get it more accurate. Okay. Cool. Now Godzilla's holding the plane like he would in the poster. Great. What next? All right. We got Godzilla's other plane. He's up over here. So we do get an extra support base, which is awesome. So we'll put that under Godzilla right here. You know, we'll do this. We'll do this. Make it nice and easy so we got more space, right? All right. So we get this. And we get the fighter jet going. Okay. Cool. All right. Are you with me so far? Cool. So what's one of the most important things that Godzilla had in the poster, which made everyone so excited? We get all of this, and we get one more accessory. All of this. So this is an accessory. We get the flame effect, which is cool. I'm not going to lie. This is a cool effect. I don't think this is really great for 1954 Godzilla fire breath, but I think this is a really cool accessory. Doesn't matter. I like it. I guess we could do that. There's no extra support stand. So you can either have the extra jet in the background, or you can have him firing his breath. Now, admittedly, you can pretty much just go ahead and use one of these extra arms from any of the other Gorillion sets that you get, right? Like however many other releases you have. You can just do that. It's not a problem. But point being, they don't have a lot of accessories in the SH Monster Arts line to begin with. So if this is maybe going to be your first one you kind of want to dive into or whatever, and the whole gimmick is to recreate the poster, I want to get you on that technicality. Now, if you want to go even further beyond that, okay, All right. In order to use the fighter jets and put them on the support arm, you have to use this little conversion peg here to put it up into the hole on the fighter jet, and you only get one, which I think is a bad move for many reasons. One, Carpet Monster. Love stuff like this. Try feeding it one, you'll never see it again. Two, what if it cracks? You'll never get a backup, and okay, you may order yours US distribution. Bandai Collect has your back to a point, because they've not gotten back to any requests that I've ever sent in for replacement support arms for any of them that have braked, whatever, in the past. Spoiler alert, I have more broken ones than I know what to do with, and I can probably recycle them into a whole action figure in and of themselves. And then, three, who cares if they give you enough accessories to be poster accurate? I'll come back to that. Here, sans an extra arm. I just want more fighter jets in my display, man. Can't you just be cool about it? Like, give me one for each. That'd be pretty nice. So that is a bummer. Now, I have seen some folks say, well, that's accurate. You know, you can do, we only need one support arm. Who cares? Just give me a support arm for everything, because this is actually accurate. And like, let's just do the right thing here. Okay. And I'm already paying $120 for this when the original release was only like 70. Like, come on. Cough it up. Give me the extra support stands. You can do it. The Bandai Namco collectively is like a $13 trillion company. You can afford an extra support stand. Okay. All right. If you need extra effect parts like fire or buildings or whatever, you know I got videos to help you out, like Tamashi Flame Effect. You want to know how to get one of those aside from just going and buying it? I got alternatives for you too. Maybe check out the video size comparison time so you can see how big this Godzilla is. Spoiler alert, it is nothing more than a repaint. So if you know how big the original 1954 is, you know how big this guy is. So it's going to be short, sweet, and to the point kind of here. And of course, since it's a repaint, we are going to do a quick side-by-side comparison with the original release. And I think this one is just more so a validation of the eye issue that has plagued this line for so many years, wherein this Godzilla primarily is known for his googly eyes, but they are designed to be down and to the side. Now, there are depictions of 1954 where he is looking forward, but if you're going for this look, it is very much so strategic. In design world, if there is chaos, it is actually organized. There is an intent behind it. It is designed that way. So the original 1954, it's pretty much going to get replaced by this one for me, which brings us to the end. Buy now, skip, or wait for a deal. Absolutely. I think this is definitely worth a purchase. There are going to be some drawbacks. Like, obviously, I noted we did not get enough support stands for this one, which I think is a total shame, regardless of how easy they are to get a hold of. And backup supports for those little pegs that go into the jets, that's not really cool. We should absolutely get them. I do think that it is pretty bogus that we still have sort of that, you know, not consistent base paint application throughout the figure that has been on a few other releases. But other than that, the eye issue is not present here across several units that I've seen online. I do think that the actual paint application that we do have for the figure, like to really enhance some of the details on the main sculpt of the body and the dorsal plates, fantastic. This makes a great stand-in for even a suit accurate color version, whatever you want to call it. And the fact that we do get a nice pack in for accessories here is amazing. And honestly, this should be the standard for every single SH MonsterArts release ever. We should get a beam effect. We should get a couple of extra support stands or little accessories. It would be amazing. The only real super problem with this release that I think everyone can agree on is going to be the price at $120. It really isn't cool, and I don't think most folks are going to be a fan of that price. I think it should be a bit more affordable in order to accommodate all collectors, but if you do pick this up, which I would have gotten it anyway, then I think you will be pleasantly surprised with this release. It is entering one of my top favorites for the line.